rajim. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. In the name of God, most merciful, ever merciful, and may God's peace and blessings be upon His holy Prophet Muhammad and the purified members of his household and progeny. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajil farajah. Brothers, sisters, and respected viewers, wherever you may be, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Assalamu alayka ya Aba Abdullah wa ala al-arwah allati hallat bi fina'ik. عليكم مني جميعا سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار ولا جعله الله آخر العهد مني لزيارتكم. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين. In the book called البلد الأمين والدرع الحصين by Sheikh al-Kaf'ani, one of our main sources for rituals and acts of worship and visitation throughout the year, it is reported that Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam has taught his followers that if they want to salute, if they want to do a ziyarah of Imam al-Husayn alayhi salam, that they are to stand near the grave of Imam al-Husayn alayhi salam and say the following. They are to say, praise be to Allah, the great, the mighty, and peace be upon you, O righteous and pure servant. I place with you a testimony that will bring me near you on the day of your intercession. For I bear witness that you were killed and you did not die. But it is through your life that the hearts of your followers came to life. And it is through the illumination of your light that those who seek you were guided. And I bear witness that you are the light of Allah that was not extinguished, nor will it ever be. And that you are the face of Allah that did not perish, nor will it ever. And I bear witness that this soil is your soil, and that this sanctuary is your sanctuary, and this killing place is the killing place where your body was killed. Never disgraced, and it is God who honors you. Never defeated, and it is God who supported you. This is my testimony that I place with you until the day my soul is taken back in your presence, and may God's peace and mercy be upon you and His blessings. With these blessed words from Imam al-Sadiq alayhi salam, we enter into the season of mourning and sorrows, the season of Muharram, the season of Ashura, the season of the remembrance of the sadness and grief and mourning of Ahlul Bayt alayhim as-salam. Over the next few nights, we will once again try to become students in the school that is Karbala, aspiring to be of those who try to carry with pride the title of being followers of Ahlul Bayt alayhim as-salam, and followers more specifically of Imam al-Husayn alayhi salam. While we will inshallah be exploring a variety of topics ranging from the historical to the theological to the scientific to the spiritual, I think that it's worth beginning this little journey of ours first by providing an overview, a quick refresher of the actual events that took place that led to the actual tragedy of Karbala, and the central figure of Imam al-Husayn alayhi salam in his life. This is going to provide, as we said, a quick overview and a refresher, and it's going to be our context and our reference point so that in the subsequent nights when we get into the rest of the topics, we don't need to keep referring back to the actual event. As we know, or should know, the tragedy of Karbala did not begin on the 10th of Muharram. Nor did it end on the 10th of Muharram. So as we said, we want to begin by perhaps taking a couple of nights to provide this refresher and this overview, to make sure that the event is fresh in our minds and that we can easily refer to it as we go through the rest of the topics that will inshallah be relevant and concretely applicable to our lives. As usual, if at times the discussion seems to take a more technical turn or a more slightly historical turn, remember that we're not studying history for the sake of history. And we're not studying these more theoretical or abstract notions for the sake of studying these abstract notions. What we're trying to do is to extract lessons. What we're trying to do is to take away something that we can actually use in our lives. This is going to have an incidence on the way we view the world. But for that, we need to understand what actually happened. We need to understand, why did this event happen? We need to understand who are the players, who are the agents. And then to understand, why did they do what they did? What were their motivations? What were their incentives? What led some groups of people to behave in a certain way? These people were human beings like us. And they were communities and collectivities and a society like ours. If we want to extract lessons, it's because we don't want to fall into the same mistakes that they fell into. And as the Holy Quran repeatedly tells us, we are required to study history. The Holy Quran says, have they not traveled the land so they may observe how was the fate of those who were before them? A quick point also is that everything that we're presenting here is based on the classic version of history. History, like any other scholarly, academic topic of research, has all sorts of different alternatives and theories and opinions, especially when it comes to very complex and controversial issues. Here we don't have time to provide and to present all of these different opinions and theories about each one of the details that we're presenting. So what we're trying to do is simply to provide the most well-accepted version of history, the most classic version of history, hoping that one day we will inshallah have the opportunity to perhaps present the alternative views and the alternative opinions about a lot of these details. But in order to do that and to have something to compare with, we also need to begin somewhere, and I think it makes sense to begin with the most classic version of history. So without further ado, let us start this overview by looking at the life of Imam al-Husayn alayhi salam. Imam al-Husayn was born in the 3rd or 4th year after the migration of the Holy Prophet from the city of Mecca to the city of Medina. He was the second to be born in that blessed household of Fatima al-Zahra alayhi salam and Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam, who were his parents, as they were the parents of his older brother Imam al-Hasan alayhi salam. And the difference between them, Imam al-Husayn was born 6 months and 10 days after the birth of Imam al-Hasan alayhi salam. Right from the very beginning, this was considered to be an extremely auspicious occasion, not only in the household of Ahl al-Bayt alayhim salam, but in the Islamic world in general. The people saw how happy and joyous the Holy Prophet had become, first with the birth of Imam al-Hasan and then with the birth of Imam al-Husayn alayhi salam. With the Holy Prophet, Imam al-Husayn alayhi salam had a very special relationship. We cannot exaggerate the depth, the strength of the relationship between Imam al-Husayn alayhi salam and the Holy Prophet. The Holy Prophet was present from the first moment Imam al-Husayn alayhi salam entered this world. And throughout the rest of his life, and until the moment he passes away, the Holy Prophet tried to be in the presence of Imam al-Hassan and Imam al-Husayn alayhim salam every moment he could. Every opportunity he could, he would spend time with them. The Holy Prophet was present at the birth. He named Imam al-Husayn alayhi salam. The Holy Prophet is the one who first taught Imam al-Husayn alayhi salam how to speak. The Holy Prophet would feed Imam al-Husayn alayhi salam. The Holy Prophet would put Imam al-Hassan and Imam al-Husayn alayhi salam to sleep. Often the companions would come to visit the Holy Prophet late at night, and when he would come out to talk to them, they would see that he is wearing his external garment, his abaya, and it's as though he's covering something. And then when he would remove it to show them, you would see very young Imam al-Hassan and Imam al-Husayn alayhi salam sleeping in the hands of the Holy Prophet on his body. And he would carry them, he would not put them down to go meet people. That's the attachment of the Holy Prophet to Imam al-Hassan and Imam al-Husayn alayhi salam. And if we go to the rank and the status and the merit and the position of Imam al-Husayn alayhi salam, specifically, there are dozens upon dozens of narrations from the Prophet about who Imam al-Husayn is. This is in addition to the narrations that we have where Imam al-Husayn alayhi salam is jointly mentioned with Imam al-Hassan, or jointly mentioned with the rest of Ahl al-Bayt, along with the Holy Prophet or Ashab al-Kisa. We have many narrations from the Holy Prophet about Imam al-Husayn alayhi salam specifically. In one of the narrations, the Holy Prophet says about Imam al-Husayn alayhi salam, he tells him, and remember, this is the Messenger of Allah talking to what looks like a very young child at that time. He tells him, you are the beauty of the heavens and the earth. And it is written on the right of the throne of God that Al-Husayn is the lantern of guidance and the ship of rescue. In another narration, the Holy Prophet says about Imam al-Husayn alayhi salam, talking to him once again, he tells him, you are a master and the son of a master. And you are an imam and the son of an imam and the father of imams, the last of whom will be the one who rises. And the Holy Prophet has famously said, the narration that is agreed upon unanimously by Islamic scholars, when he says, Husayn is from me and I am from Husayn. May God love whomever loves Husayn. Imam al-Husayn alayhi salam spent a total of about 7 years with the Holy Prophet. When the Holy Prophet passes away, Imam al-Husayn is almost 7 years old. 6 years and perhaps 6 to 8 months old. And we are told that even in that moment when the Holy Prophet is passing away, in the narration we find Imam al-Hassan and Imam al-Husayn alayhim salam lying with their chests flat on the chest of the Holy Prophet as he is breathing his last breaths in this world. And in the narration, Imam Ali alayhi salam came to remove them, to give a little bit of space to the Holy Prophet as he seemingly looks like he is suffering and about to pass away, and the Holy Prophet refuses. And he tells Imam Ali alayhi salam, "O Ali, let them take a little bit more of me and let me take a little bit more of them." And so we see that Imam al-Husayn alayhi salam was with the Holy Prophet, and the Holy Prophet was with Imam al-Husayn alayhi salam from the moment he was born until the moment the Holy Prophet leaves this world. When the Prophet passes away, a few months later, as we all know, his mother, Fatima al-Zahra, passes away as well. Imam al-Husayn, as we said, is about 7 years old here. And of course, Imam al-Husayn alayhi salam witnessed the events that took place as the Holy Prophet passed away, and Bani Hashim were busy with the burial rites of the Prophet, while the rest of Quraysh were busy trying to decide who would become Khalifa right away to replace the Prophet. And then he witnessed the events and how the right of his father, of Imam Ali alayhi salam, was taken away, was usurped, how their house was attacked, how Fatima al-Zahra, his mother, went and delivered her sermons, including the famous sermon of Fadak. Imam al-Husayn alayhi salam lived through those events. And this is important to mention because we have to keep in mind that the Imam His character and his personality was molded and was shaped by these events. No one can say that the Imam did not understand what was happening. He understood very well, and he would refer back to those events throughout his life and until the events of Karbala. So it is important to keep those events in mind. After the passing away of Fatima al-Zahra and the Holy Prophet, Imam al-Husayn alayhi salam falls under the care of his father, Imam Ali alayhi salam. And once again, and perhaps this is an area that requires much more study and much more discussion than we are accustomed to and that we find, this very strong bond and relationship of loyalty and servitude from Imam al-Husayn alayhi salam to Imam Ali. Not because he is his father, but because he is the Imam. It's a relationship of a student to his teacher, of a servant, of an aid and a support. Right from the beginning, he remained by the side of Imam Ali alayhi salam along with his brother Imam al-Hasan throughout the Khilafah of Abu Bakr, and then Khilafah of Umar, and then the Khilafah of Uthman. And then when the people finally chose Imam Ali alayhi salam as their Khalifa, he was by his side every step of the way. In his very short Khilafah, Imam Ali alayhi salam had 3 battles. The battle of the camel, the battle of Siffin, and the battle of Nahrawan. And in all of these 3 battles, Imam al-Husayn alayhi salam was alongside Imam Ali alayhi salam, fighting with him and being at the forefront of those who supported Imam Ali alayhi salam. And then finally, as we all know, after 30 years of being with Imam Ali alayhi salam, Muawiyah conspired with the Khawarij, and he had Imam Ali alayhi salam assassinated in the holy month of Ramadan, on Laylatul Qadr, while performing the Fajr prayer, while in prostration and while fasting. And so Imam Ali alayhi salam, the father of Imam al-Husayn, departs from this world in this manner. And at that point, Imam al-Husayn alayhi salam is not an imam yet. He falls under the imamah of his older brother, Imam al-Hasan alayhi salam. And for the next 10 years, Imam al-Husayn alayhi salam has to be considered as the loyal servant and aid and support to Imam al-Hasan alayhi salam. Things were getting extremely bad already during the time, the Khilafah and the Imamah of Imam Ali alayhi salam, with a lot of betrayal, with a lot of people turning away, deciding and choosing life and luxury and going away from the difficulties and the oppression and not siding with Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. And this situation became a lot worse when it was the Imamah of Imam al-Hasan alayhi salam. During his time, the betrayals and the treachery and the cowardice of those who should have been the followers of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam was reaching unprecedented heights. And so you find that if you read the biography of Imam al-Hasan alayhi salam, you find those who are with the Imam are constantly being tricked and duped and bribed into being disloyal to Imam al-Hasan alayhi salam. Imam al-Hasan would perform his prayer while wearing a shield because he knew that his own army might assassinate him. And Imam al-Hasan alayhi salam actually suffered an attack, an assassination attempt from his own people. They poisoned a dagger and tried to kill the Imam, except that the dagger, instead of hitting the Imam in a fatal manner, they missed and they hit the thigh of Imam al-Hasan alayhi salam, and it went all the way to the bone, and Imam al-Hasan alayhi salam was carried away to heal. And during those times, Imam al-Hasan alayhi salam knew that his true followers, those who should have been his true followers, were very, very rare. Even those who were calling themselves his followers and his Shia were in fact confused and misunderstood the positions of the Imam, and were not all of them on certain footing that they would actually be with the Imam in every decision. And this became apparent later. The Imam knew that those who would be very loyal to the Imam were very, very few. And the Imam wanted to preserve them for something that would be happening later. If he went to battle with Muawiyah, with those few people, he along with them would end up dying for nothing. They would stand up for the truth, but nothing would ensue out of this. Nothing would happen. No good would come out of it. No greater good would come out of it. So instead, the Imam, in his genius manner, forced Muawiyah into a peace treaty. And if you go into the conditions of that peace treaty, you see that the Imam basically imposed on Muawiyah conditions that would make him an autonomous Khalifa without calling himself a Khalifa. He would be able to rule autonomously over his followers. He would have financial independence. He made Muawiyah promise that he would not persecute the Shia and persecute people for their beliefs. He made Muawiyah promise that if Muawiyah is to die, the Khilafah would go automatically to him, Imam al-Hasan, and if he is not alive, foretelling of things to come, then it would go automatically to his brother Imam al-Husayn. And Muawiyah quickly accepted, and then he realized that the Imam had been smarter than he was, and he was very angry. And he afterwards said that all of these conditions mean nothing to me, and this peace treaty of Imam al-Hasan is under my feet. And this is to be expected from the enemies of Islam. But the calamity was that when you look at the manner in which those who were supposed to be the followers of Imam al-Hasan dealt with Imam al-Hasan, they misunderstood Imam al-Hasan. Those who were supposed to be his commanders, those who were supposed to be his Shia, misunderstood the strategy of Imam al-Hasan and what he was doing. We have a number of the companions who came to Imam al-Hasan alayhi salam and who said to him, one of them was Sulaiman ibn Surad al-Khuza'i, one of them was Musayyib ibn Najabah, we even have Hijr ibn Adi, we even have Jabir ibn Abdullah al-Ansari. They came and they disrespected Imam al-Hasan alayhi salam. They questioned his decision. They told the Imam, you have 40,000 fighters who are ready to fight Muawiyah with you, and here you are accepting a peace treaty with Muawiyah. Hijr ibn Adi told the Imam, and he was a great companion and a great follower of Imam Ali alayhi salam. He told Imam Hassan alayhi salam, I wish that you had died on that day and that we would have died with you so that we never see this day. The group of Muawiyah have left happy and we have left sad today. May we never have seen a day like this. Even people like, as we said, Jabir ibn Abdullah al-Ansari and others, that it would be surprising to see their names. They came and they disrespected Imam al-Hasan alayhi salam. And this continued, and until today, there are people, even within the Shia world, even of the followers of Ahlul Bayt, who misunderstand the positions and the strategies of Imam al-Hasan alayhi salam. They fail to study it properly, and they question, to the point where they even question his imamah. And I don't have time now to go through a narration, perhaps we can leave it to tomorrow, that will inshallah help us understand these positions of the imams. And why is it that we see perhaps what we consider to be so much difference in the manner in which some of them dealt with the circumstances of their time. So in any case, after this peace treaty was signed between Imam al-Hasan alayhi salam and Muawiyah, Imam al-Hasan went back to al-Madinah al-Munawwara and Imam al-Husayn followed him. And already at that point, there are people who started coming to Imam al-Husayn, telling him, perhaps your brother is a man who is much more inclined to peace. So how about you take to the sword and rise and lead us in an uprising against Muawiyah? And Imam al-Husayn alayhi salam refused what they were saying, and he fully supported his brother Imam al-Hasan alayhi salam, and he told them that whatever his brother had decided, that's what needs to be respected, and that's what needs to be considered as the truth. And so, if we continue to move on from at that point when Imam al-Hasan alayhi salam is living in Medina, and he continues to preach, and he continues to teach the religion, and to protect the followers of Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam as best he can, all the way until Muawiyah was able to trick and dupe once again someone close to the Imam, this time his wife, Ju'da bint al-Ash'ath or Ju'ayda bint al-Ash'ath, depending on the reports. He sent her poison and he bribed her, and she poisoned Imam al-Hasan alayhi salam, and he passed away. When Imam Ali alayhi salam passes away, Imam al-Husayn alayhi salam is about 37 years old. When Imam al-Hasan alayhi salam passes away, it's about 10 years later. Imam al-Husayn alayhi salam is about 47 years old. This is when the Imamah comes to Imam al-Hasan alayhi salam. He becomes the Imam. He needs to step up and lead this ummah. While Muawiyah has declared himself as the official Khalifa, and we know of the world of corruption and oppression and tyranny that existed at that time. Very quickly after the passing away of Imam al-Hasan alayhi salam, Muawiyah started escalating his oppression. He continued to identify those who were allies of Imam Ali alayhi salam and who were allies of Imam al-Hasan and kill them one by one, get rid of them one by one. And slowly he was starting to prepare the grounds so that if he were to die, the Khilafah would not go to Imam al-Husayn alayhi salam as he had agreed, but that it would remain in his own family and it would go to his own son Yazid. And so, as Muawiyah was dying, and we will go into more details perhaps tomorrow, we don't have time to go through all the details now. As Muawiyah was dying, he left very clear instructions to his son Yazid. He told him that there are a few people that you need to pay very special attention to. As soon as you become the Khalifa, force the people to pay allegiance to you, but those four, start with them. And one of the four is Imam al-Husayn alayhi salam, because those four represent a threat to your Khilafah. Start with Imam al-Husayn alayhi salam. Force him to swear his allegiance to you. And if he refuses and if he rejects, then kill him. And so if we fast forward over the next months, and we go all the way to the events of Karbala and the tragedy that befell in the month of Muharram, we understand that what Yazid did was simply an execution of the will of Muawiyah, as he had told his son to do in the place of Imam al-Husayn alayhi salam. And so we are told that if we go to the 10th of Muharram, while the tragedy of Karbala is taking place in Karbala, and inshallah we'll have time to talk about that, if we go to the city of Medina, the city of Imam al-Husayn alayhi salam, the city of the Holy Prophet and Ahl al-Bayt, we are told that on the 10th of Muharram, Ibn Abbas says, I heard loud yelling and screaming and weeping. There was a great commotion. And so he inquires, what is going on? And he is told that this is coming from the house of a lady by the name of Salama. Salama was one of the wives of the Holy Prophet. One of the very loyal and obedient and sincere followers of the Holy Prophet and Ahl al-Bayt and Islam in general. And so, on that day, Ibn Abbas says that the crying and the weeping was coming from her house. We know that the same woman, when there's a battle that happened, when another one of the wives of the Holy Prophet rise against Imam Ali alayhi salam, when Aisha rise against Imam Ali in the battle of the camel, Salama wrote a letter to Imam Ali alayhi salam. She tells him in that letter, I swear to you that I wish I could be one of those who are fighting with you against the wrong. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and His book and His Prophet have asked us, wives of the Prophet, to remain in our homes. So I shall remain in my house. So instead, please accept my son as a soldier in your army so that you may fight against the injustice that is taking place. That same woman on that day, she was the one yelling and screaming and crying on the 10th of Muharram. And Ibn Abbas says, and why is this happening in her house? And he hears that she is saying that Imam Husayn alayhi salam has been killed. Ibn Abbas says, I did not believe it. I could not believe that Imam Husayn alayhi salam had been killed. So he went to see Salama and he asks her for some proof. How could she know that Imam Husayn alayhi salam has been killed? And this is where we are told about the famous story of the jar or the pouch of sand that the Holy Prophet had given to Salama. If we go back to the time when Imam al-Husayn alayhi salam was born, the Holy Prophet, he would often carry Imam al-Husayn alayhi salam and he would see him kissing him. And at the same time, sometimes he would be seen happy and sometimes he would be seen crying. And so when he was asked, he would say that Jibreel has informed me that this child of yours, this son of yours, is going to be killed by your own nation. And this is me adding here. It seems to me that there are perhaps those who are close to the Holy Prophet who maybe doubted. They could not believe that the nation of the Holy Prophet, and remember, the Holy Prophet was at the height of his might at that time. He was the ruler. The Imam Husayn alayhi salam is born, he's still a child, and he's saying this child is going to be killed by my own nation. People could not believe that. So the Holy Prophet gave an indication, gave a sign to Salama when he told her that. He told her, here is a little bit of the sand on which the blood of Imam al-Husayn alayhi salam shall be spilled, given to me by Jibreel. Keep it with you. And the day that this blood transforms, this sand transforms into blood, then you will know that on that day Imam al-Husayn alayhi salam has been slain. And so we go back to the 10th of Muharram in al-Madinah al-Munawwara, and Salama had just seen that pouch, that jar of sand had turned into a fountain of fresh blood, boiling blood. And this is perhaps, when we hear the story in this way, there is something perhaps missing. These people cannot believe that Imam Husayn alayhi salam has been killed. And what we know is that those people should have known and expected the Imam to be killed. Because the Holy Prophet continuously told them that this son of mine is going to be murdered, assassinated, killed by my own nation. And we even have narrations that tell from the Holy Prophet telling them where he will die. In some narrations, for instance, he refers to it as the land of Babel or Iraq. We are told in one such narration, we are told that the Holy Prophet one day entered into the house. He came to visit his daughter, Fatima al-Zahra alayhi salam. And when he came in, he saw Fatima al-Zahra, her husband, Imam Ali alayhi salam, and their two very young sons, Imam al-Hasan and Imam al-Husayn alayhi salam. And when he saw them, he got very happy. He came, he stood in the middle, and he prayed 2 rak'at. After which, he performed a sujood. And then that sujood lasted for a long time, and then the Holy Prophet started crying in his sujood. And Ahlul Bayt alayhim as-salam, being who they are, when they saw the Holy Prophet crying, they started crying as well. They don't know why the Holy Prophet is crying, but the sight and their attachment to the Holy Prophet also makes them cry. But they don't know what's going on. After a while, the Holy Prophet raises his head and he calls Imam al-Husayn alayhi salam to him. And he tells Imam al-Husayn, he starts kissing Imam al-Husayn alayhi salam, and he kisses him on his eye, he kisses him on his mouth, he kisses him on his neck, and then he lifts his shirt and he kisses him on his chest and elsewhere on his body. And everybody is looking, but no one is saying anything. Until finally Imam al-Husayn alayhi salam himself asks the Holy Prophet. He tells the Holy Prophet, and Imam Husayn alayhi salam at that point is about 4 years old. He tells the Holy Prophet, why did you just do what you did? You came into the house and you were happy and you prayed and you did the sujood, and then you started crying and you started kissing me. And the Holy Prophet looks to Imam Ali alayhi salam and he tells him, Jibreel alayhi salam has just informed me that you will be killed and you will be killed unjustly. And he has informed me that you, my son, Imam al-Hasan, will be killed and we will be killed unjustly. And he has informed me that you, my son, Imam al-Husayn, you will be killed and you will be killed unjustly. The part that we don't have in the narration, and we don't know if the Holy Prophet explained or not, is that he didn't say why he kissed the eye and the mouth and the throat and the chest and the other body parts of Imam al-Husayn alayhi salam. Today we know, after the fact we know what would happen to those specific body parts of Imam al-Husayn alayhi salam. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help us understand the ranks and the positions of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, and to open our hearts to the blessings of these few days and nights of Muharram, so that we may actually get a better attachment to Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, and we may be able to say that we are truly and proudly followers of Ahlul Bayt, followers of Imam al-Husayn alayhi salam, and of those who walk in their footsteps in this life and the next. Assalamu alayka ya Aba Abdullah wa ala al-arwah allati hallat bi thana'ik. Assalamu ala al-Husayn wa ala Ali ibn al-Husayn wa ala awlad al-Husayn wa ala ashab al-Husayn wa sallallahu ala Sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi at-tayyibin at-tahirin.